Hey guys, another One Take review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Cécile McLorin Salvant album, Ghost Songs. This is the latest album from the vocal jazz artist slash performance artist, and I mean, as far as jazz musicians go of any form, be it instrumental or vocal, I mean, Cécile McLorin Salvant has made quite the name for herself. She's won multiple Grammys, and she's made a decent sized splash in the music industry in an era where jazz as a genre now, at least its relevance, pales in comparison to its golden age throughout the 50s and early 60s. But if anyone out there thinks that the jazz genre may be less relevant or just less, frankly, good than it once was in what is considered its golden age, then artists like Cécile McLorin Salvant are completely proving that wrong in every conceivable way right now. If you couldn't tell by my praise already, Ghost Song is Savant just striking gold again. Though I do think it should be said that Cécile McLorin Salvant is much more than just a standard vocal jazz artist, even though that's what I just categorized her as a moment ago, but she's really much more than just that genre name. After all, like I said, this is the current age of jazz music. It's a very different landscape right now. It would be difficult to make it as far as she has, like I said, multiple Grammys now, with just rehashing Billie Holiday or someone similar. She's kind of her own unique individual, her own unique personality, and her own unique performer that really makes her stand out both from the icons of Days Come to Pass as well as just the other noteworthy modern vocal jazz, experimental jazz musicians, which frankly there are a lot, even with not a lot of them getting any sort of mainstream recognition. Ghost Song is a reasonably quirky album for the vocal jazz genre, and I know that that can sort of come across as a not good thing to some people. It can come across as a bad thing just because the term quirky has almost been cursed to mean either odd or obnoxiously wanting to be odd or unique, and it's certainly not the latter. This is just a very odd album, but I mean that in the best way possible. You have songs like Optimistic Voice and No Love Dying that really have a sense of strangeness about them, but it's kind of enchanting, and they have this sort of almost dangerous level of potential chaos that's just restraining, and things almost sound surreal here depending on the right context, and if you're listening to it at the right time, at the right point in your life, at the right point of day, even depending on the song. There's just something about this record that is very unique and very massive. However, that sort of power that looms over you as you listen that doesn't prevent it being kind of a just very unique album. It's difficult to describe what makes it so unique or strange or special because it is not an inherently strange record, but at the same time, Ghost Song is just something that definitely stands out in the current world of jazz, that's to be sure. As a vocalist, Cecile McLorin Salvant has been praised as one of the best of her generation so far, and honestly, I think that that isn't without reason. Take the album opening track Wuthering Heights, for example, which is actually a cover by pop legend Kate Bush. If you've heard the original, which if you haven't, I do highly recommend, it's a personal favorite of mine, but if you have already heard the original, then you're aware of the vocal prowess that Kate Bush demonstrates on that song, and I mean, if you're aware of Kate Bush's legacy and her musical abilities, you know that she is just, without a doubt, one of the most striking performers in all of pop music, and maybe just of all time, so the fact that this album manages to almost match the masterful vocal work done on that original song is it's kind of insane in all honesty. Furthermore, you have tracks like I Lost My Mind, which see Salvant kind of taking on a more haunting, almost spectral kind of tone, which is very moving to me for multiple reasons. Not only is it spine tingling, but it's also emotionally charged, and those two things put together, they can be difficult to achieve and even more difficult to actually do correctly and effectively, but it's done here on Ghost Song without a doubt, and that first half of the title, Ghost, it really does ring true for this record. It's certainly a proper title because this album feels haunted in the best way possible. That might just be best heard or seen, whichever you prefer, on the album closing a cappella track, Unquiet Grave. It's just about as kind of chilling and haunting as you would expect any song that can be described as a cappella, but creepy, can be, and I mean that in the best way possible. It is an emotional roller coaster almost. It just combines so many different feelings that, again, it's difficult to properly convey what they manage to convey. It's just a very impressive song on an album of already very impressive track list. Love her unique art pop influenced sense of vocal jazz or hate it, there's no denying that Cecile McLorin Salvant's work here is just striking, to say the least. Ghost Song is pretty cut above as far as I'm concerned in terms of instrumentals as well, and like I said, this is sort of an oddball take on a tried and true genre and sound. The history of jazz in general, which is something obviously deeply woven into American culture at this point, allows for songs like Dead Poplars to sort of make usage of that traditional, typical jazz percussion and brass and that overall kind of sound that you'd expect from an artist like, say, Nina Simone or the previously mentioned Billie Holiday, that sort of a bluesier, almost vocal jazz kind of side of things. That doesn't mean Ghost Song is unadventurous, though. It's certainly adventurous. You've got songs like the very off-kilter and mostly spoken word song Obligation, which is, strangely enough, a personal favorite of mine, as well as the instrumental Trail Mix that just deliver a sort of looming sense of doom almost. It's, once again, I hate to say it for what I think is a third time in this review, but it truly is difficult to perfectly capture into words. It's a feeling of both utter dread, but also serenity. It really just kind of manages to make something so beautiful, so almost destructive as well. It's an impressive feat, to be sure. No matter how you feel about this record in terms of emotion, Ghost Song does much more to elevate itself beyond being just another very good record in an already strong discography. In fact, this is probably her best so far. The production and just overall recording quality throughout Ghost Song is phenomenal as well. I'm not sure of any particular recording methods or styles that may have been used throughout the creation of this album, but everything is just stripped back and sparse enough that it allows both Salvant and the instrumentals themselves to just kind of freely move about your ears, about the room that they're in, whatever it may be, and almost be a touch playful at times. This especially works out for a couple of songs here or there that theoretically couldn't have been as good in a more condensed setting like the title track or even the show tune-esque The World Is Mean, which may be a strange title, but this is a strange album at times, so get used to that. And overall, I just do think that whatever production style or method was utilized throughout the creation of Ghost Song, it worked out so much for the better. It really defines the album and makes it as almost spiritual at times as it is. Ghost Song's ability to just sort of flow freely throughout what is already seemingly a wide open space is almost what makes it so intoxicatingly dramatic. And that's saying something because there are a lot of aspects about this record that do heavily push for a very dramatic tone, but the atmosphere that it builds thanks to that production and that recording setting are just absolutely essential to the enjoyment that I get from this album. So, overall, Ghost Song is just another amazing record from Cecile McLorin Salvant. Although she had already kind of proven her excellency and her appeal to a wider audience, I guess, at least as far as critics go, with albums like The Window, I do think this might be her best effort so far. I think it's a very powerful and moving album that proves and cements the fact that she is easily one of the most underrated voices in jazz music right now, and like I said before, as the genre is probably less relevant than it has been, at least in a long while, that's saying something, because there's a lot of underrated voices in the genre right now. And with that being said, I'm going to give Ghost Song 4.5 stars out of 5. Fantastic record, extremely dramatic, but still kind of a touch playful, like I said before, very kind of upbeat at times, but equaled out by a sort of sense of just catastrophic destruction. It's something that you need to listen to and experience for yourself, so I really do recommend immediately, as soon as you can, listening to this album. It's a fantastic listen, and it's definitely something that you need to hear from front to back. So yeah, 4.5 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that's the end of this review, so I will see you guys in the next one.